Hi everybody, and welcome to another video from my channel. This is another inbox review. Interesting subject here because what we're looking at here is actually a Locheed F-94 Starfire. This is actually an F-94C variant, and these aircraft were a development of the T-33 Shooting Star trainer. But which kit are we building today? We're actually building not this one, but it is very, very closely based on this kit. This is an original 1993 release of the Emhar Locheed F-94C Starfire early variant. The only major difference between this kit and the kit that I'm actually doing an inbox review on, I'll show you when we get to the parts, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. But this is the early rendition released in 1993, and the kit that I'm actually doing a review on is this one, which is the same kit really, but it's an F-94C Starfire late edition. Again, released the same year in 1993. You can actually get this kit brand new, and I'll talk about that when we get to the options and costs. And the kit is on general release pretty much everywhere at the moment, but it is originally a 1993 tooling. We'll just leave you with a nice picture here of another F-94C Starfire, and you can see the rocket pods on the wings here. You can see the thimble radome, which was the fire control radar to locate targets in front of the aircraft. Because the Starfire was an all-weather interceptor, it was designed as a bomber destroyer. Anyway, let's pan the camera down and let's have a look at this interesting kit. Let's put it that way. It is an interesting kit. There. Now then, it's quite a big box. There's my hand in front of the box, so you can see it's quite a sizable box. For what is essentially a slightly larger version of the F-80C Shooting Star. Anyway, EM3004, that's the serial number of the kit, finished in 72nd scale. In nice image there of the kit flying. You've got a side view there with alternative decal scheme. That might be the one I might do. I quite like the look of that alternative decal scheme. Some information there on the kit. It's basically some stats, history, dimensions, things like that. And then on the other side, it's designed for people 14 years and older. 72nd scale again. There's the barcode. Not really huge amounts to go on there. And on the back, now when you get this kit from newer renditions, it often has different types of advertising on the back, but basically this is just to let you know what they have in their inventory. And it also includes World War I style tanks, which is quite nice, a Mark IV male and a female there. But basically you have the two different variants of the Starfire. There's a Demon there from McDonald, and another Demon from McDonald. There's the Fury from North American, the Anatra Sol, the MiG-3, the Lag-3 and the Yak-3. Now I'm not 100% sure, but I do think they have extra kits on top of this range available. But it's also interesting that the scale for the armour kits are saying is 1/35th. That's for these two tanks. And there's the address there. Pocket Bond Limited, PO Box 80 Welwyn AL60ND in the United Kingdom. But the other frightening thing is they're only packaged in the United Kingdom. The kit's made in China. So there we go. It's a bit of a cosmopolitan thing, isn't it? So let's have a look at what's inside the box. The box is an open-ended lid box, so none of that crushing crap going on. And what we'll do is I'll just pop the box that way around, and then we can pop that round that way and leave that on one side, and I'll put the two plastic screws here because I want to talk a little bit. I'll open that one up and put that one on first, because I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the sprues in a minute. The instruction leaflet, we'll just take the decals out. We'll have a look at those in a minute, but the instruction leaflet is a very small A4 size piece of paper which folds up into an A5 sheet, and all the instructions is on an A4 sheet of paper, as you can see. You've got your colour call out there. There's the painting instructions. Yeah, wing and tailwind leadage. I'm just seeing if it's got any information about what colour you paint the interior, but it doesn't really have that. Decal instructions. Yeah, not much of an issue there. Star and bar, blah blah blah. And on the front you've got more information which was repeated basically from the box, on the side of the box, if you remember. 4 different languages there. It's funny that it's a British packaged company, but Britain is below Germany and France. And then you've got the Italian instructions at the bottom. Interesting. Yeah, copyright Pocket Bond Limited 1993, so it's definitely a 93 release. On the top of the instruction leaflet you've got the icons there that tell you what to do, how to do it. Quite straightforward. And the kit builds up in basically 7 steps. Although if you actually look at it logistically, well, intelligently wise, say, it actually builds in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 steps in total. But basically the first step, you just build in the cockpit and the instructions, instrument panels rather, and then you're building your seats, ejection seats there. People often build these ejection seats with black headrest restraint units. On this aircraft, most of the photographs that I've seen, those head restraint units there are actually matte red. So, and the interior of the aircraft is actually matte black. Even the instrument panels are all matte black. Then you put the nose wheel and main gear oleos with the wheels together. No real issues there. Undercarriage struts are probably going to be silver G11 with the hubs, matte black tyres. And then you're building the tip tanks, and the fuselage halves go together there with the air intakes and the rear jet exhaust system. I think there's a turbine on the back of that part 48, which is nice. Then you put the airframe together, tailplanes, the main wings, and the tub goes above the main wings before you put the wings into place, as you can see there. Cockpit canopy goes in there, and there's some sort of part which will probably lend itself as to where it goes when I'm building the kit, but I've got a feeling that is a head-up display shroud for the rear pilot. No pilots in this kit, sorry but there aren't any pilots. Then you've got the undercarriage oleos and everything going into place there, which is quite self-explanatory really. The rocket pods go in, and apparently it tells you have to measure. Yeah, you measure to adhere the rocket pods to the wings. They're supposed to be inlined to 45 millimeters from the center line of the fuselage. So when you find the center line of the undercarriage wing bays, you should be able to measure 45, and away you go. I'll probably do that before I put the undercarriage in place, and what I'll do is I'll just measure a line 45 degrees and then 45 millimeters and then 90 millimeters from that line to produce the position for the rocket pods. And then you put all the extra last fittings together, which is basically the undercarriage bay doors, the air brakes. There are actually 4 air brakes on this kit. 2 in the fuselage half there, and 2 here in front of the undercarriage bay doors, although I've got a feeling they might be undercarriage. There might be undercarriage doors and not air brakes. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look, see what photographs suggest they are. There's another tip that I think would be a good idea if you're building this kit. It does not say in the instruction leaflet that you have to put weight in the nose, but I think I would be tempted to do that. You could put lead shot into that nose thimble there, but I think I'm going to put some weight in the nose section as well. Put some plasticine in there and some lead and plasticine into the nose thimble. That should sort that. Anyway, that's instructions. Have a look at the decals because I've got something to say about these. The decals, they look quite nice until you scrutinise them properly. When you feel the decals on this kit, the backing film, the backing film, if you tilt the, I don't know if you can see that, but if you tilt the sheet, you can see the backing film is quite a large area around each decal. And I think I might be tempted to cut those down a bit, especially these here, because they are probably quite prone to silvering over a silver, which is interesting. But the actual decals look okay until you scrutinise the stars and bars and have a look at the registry on those. That's really bad. The bottom half of each star is actually shorter than the top. That's really bad. So I think I might have to source some new stars and bars decals from my decal stash. But the rest of the decals look okay. But apparently some of the reviewers, professional reviewers, say that these decals are the wrong colour. All of these yellow decals, they're a little bit too brown. There's too much brown in the colour. There should be a lot more vibrantly and primrose in colour. They're not quite the right colour. But, you know, I'm going to be building this version, I think, and not that version. I think this version is going to look a little less display type, you know, if you know what I mean. Now then, the parts. So that's the decal sorted, the parts. Let's have a look at the transparency. And one of the things I first noticed about this kit is that there's absolutely no packaging in here whatsoever. And I think I've got away with it with this cockpit canopy, because if you can see, the canopy is actually quite nice. It's very thick, but it's very clear. I've seen reviews on this kit online. One of them is from a friend of mine. I don't know him personally, but I know him through online media, and that's a guy called Matt's Model Minutes, and he's done an inbox review of this kit, and the canopy he had in his box wasn't anything like as good as that. That looks half decent, so I'm quite pleased about that. The actual ribbing of the canopy frame, yeah, it's a bit raised, as you can see there, but I think it will paint up quite nice. So I'm quite pleased with that. That's not too bad. Then we have the first sprue. Yeah. Right. There is a reviewer, a professional reviewer, who actually stated that this kit looks to be a bit like an upgraded Frog kit. And if you look at the quality of the parts, I can see why he said that. There is a little bit of detail on those tip tanks, but the actual parts look a little bit waxy, very similar to how Frog were casting parts in the early 70s and late 60s. And these parts look pretty similar to that. The fuselage halves, I wouldn't agree with them. And the wings, I don't think I would agree with them either, because these wings are actually recessed. The wing panel lines are actually recessed. We never got that in a Frog kit. And the fuselage is quite nicely detailed. There's no rivets, but then you wouldn't have rivets because this thing was air screwed together. It would have had flush screws holding all the panels in place. But it's quite nicely cast. I quite like the look of the casting on this. Let's see how it goes together. A little bit of detail there on that undercarriage main gear door. The undercarriage legs look okay. You know, It's not of the quality of what I would say a modern Revell kit is, or actually any modern kits, but it's not terrible. It's not really bad. The second sprue, the main wing underside is a bit bereft of detail in the main wheel well doors, main wheel wells there. But again, recessed panel lines on that underside of the wing, which is quite nice. A lot of people say that these parts are a bit slabby, but those tail planes don't look too bad either. And again, it's recessed panel lines. A bit of a shock, isn't it? Because I thought you'd have raised panel lines on this kit, but you haven't. There's no turbine in the back of the engine pipe there. I thought there might have been one, but there isn't. The seats look a bit basic, crude actually. Air intake inside's a bit crude. The main wheels, they're okay. They're alright, nothing to write home about, but they're okay. Cockpit tub is a bit... Well, we'll see what that builds up like and see how detailed that is. I've got pictures of the interior of this thing, and the interior is definitely matte black. It's definitely what you call a Century Series aircraft. And most Century Series aircraft from the West were matte black inside. Even the instrument panels are matte black. But the seats are matte black. The pads appear to be green with matte red ejection seat mouldings, which I think are those there. I could be wrong. I think they're the ejection seat mouldings. And then we come to something which I thought was a problem, but it actually isn't. If you look on the corner of this sprue, there's a part missing. It's part 33. Well, if you buy the early rendition of the F94C, this part is present, but that part is missing. So I think what Emhar have done is to ensure that you can't fit the wrong part, even though both the nose cones were on the sprue. They remove what you'd call the offending nose cone to the model version that you want to build and leave the correct one on the sprue. So I think what they've done is they've done that for quality control. So if you buy this kit and you see this part missing, or you get the early rendition, you see this part missing, this part will be here, don't worry about it, it's supposed to be like that. Anyway, that's the inbox review done. Let's have a look at the gun. So I can close this video and I'll just show you. I'll show you that like that. It's quite a nice image, isn't it? I quite like the artwork on this. And we'll go through the gun so I can finish this video off. Right, the model we're doing an inbox review on today is the Emhar Locheed F94C Starfire Late Edition. Its serial number is EM3004. If you get the early rendition, it's EM3003. The release date for both of these kits is 1993, and this model is moulded in 1/72nd scale. Now there are decals for two versions. The first is a Locheed F94C Starfire from the 27th Fighter Training School, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base 1955, and the second is a Locheed F94C Starfire from the 84th Fighter Interception Service from Yuma Air Gunnery Meet in 1954. There are 62 parts on two grey plastic sprues and 2 parts on a transparency, making 64 parts in total. The dimensions of the kit is actually quite sizable, a 7.5 inches long by a 7-inch wingspan, and it should sit about 2.5 inches high on its undercarriage. Now the options and costs, there are quite a few, but not really that many in all of the scales. But I've restricted the options and costs to the scales that only pertain to 1/76th or 1/72nd. The 76th kits are all based on the Aurora kit of the F94C Starfire. That model is quite rare and it goes for about £30 to £40. Aurora Canada and Aurora Netherlands reboxed this kit, both as F94C Starfires. Haven't got any details on the pricings of any of these, but it's probably going to be the same as the standard Aurora kit. In 72nd, you've got 3 toolings. The first 2 four toolings, well, four boxings, but three toolings. The first two boxings are the Emhar kits, the F94C Starfire Early and the F94C Starfire Late. Both these kits retail for anything between £7 and £16. However, both of these kits are available brand new at the moment for £7.75 with free shipping from Jadlan and £10.42 with shipping extra on Amazon, and that is of 2025 prices. Now, Hella did a tooling of the F94B Starfire. This kit a little bit difficult to get a hold of nowadays, but it goes for about £15 to £30. And Sword do quite a complicated build kit, but it's quite detailed and is probably, as far as the professional reviewers are concerned, the best option out of the four is the F94B Starfire from Sword, and that retails between £15 and £20. Reboxed Hella kits, Hella Humbrol did an F94B Starfire, retails between £6 and £25, and Hella Lodella did one as well of the F94B Starfire from Hella. That kit, I haven't got any pricings on it at all. Conclusions. Right. It's a mixed bag, as the reviews on this kit are quite scathing, but some put it in like an updated Frog kit, and basic but crude and possible problems with fit issues. I think personally that it looks like a cheap, cheerful model kit that probably will require some work to get it to fit and to get a reasonable finish. The transfers appear sound, but the reviewers state that the backing film on the large side of and the register on the stars and bars is pretty terrible. Never built an Emhar kit before, and I have their Demon in the stash for a later date, so here goes, and the jury will definitely be out until the bitter end on this one. I hope this inbox review has been of some use. If you have any queries, questions, just pop them in the comment boxes and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye bye.